Hi, this is photographer David Flores, and welcome to B&H's live panel with the Panasonic GH5. We have an incredible panel put together today of image makers, storytellers to talk about the GH5, show some use case work, and talk through all the geeky things that we want to talk about with the camera. First up, we have Jacki Huntington. Hey, Jacki, how you doing?
All right. I'm good.
Jacki is a video producer for Refinery 29 and a music video director. You've been on the West Coast. Can we keep you in New York?
I think once it becomes summer, I'll be okay with living in New York again.
Welcome back. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks.
We have Griffin Hammond, documentary filmmaker extraordinaire. Welcome, Griffin.
Thank you so much.
You're coming off a long stint covering the election.
Yes, on the GH4.
On the GH4.
And then I was lucky enough to get the GH5 pretty early and got to shoot a little documentary about ice and cocktails in New York City.
That's awesome. We're going to see some of their work today. I can't wait. We have Cheung, international man of mystery, vlogger, YouTuber, amazing guy. You've gotten to work with the GH5 for the last couple of days here in New York City?
Yeah, just a couple of days. I don't get it really early, like Griffin.
You've been having fun with it so far?
Yes, I'm having a lot of fun, and I hate to give it back.
I'm sorry. I think it might have to happen today. And then, Sean Robinson, you're here. What is your relationship with Panasonic and the GH5, Sean?
I'm with Panasonic. I'm in the marketing department, and I was here back in January with Doug to kind of give the first look on the GH5, and it's we're really excited about it. It's an awesome camera.
That's awesome. So we're live streaming today. We have an incredible panel that's a resource to you. So if you have questions about the GH5, filmmaking, or the process of visual storytelling, you should tweet them at us. All right, use the hashtag BHPhotoLive. That's BHPhotoLive. Put your question in there. We'll be taking those at the end of the show. And when you send in those questions, you're actually entering yourself into a contest to win some awesome Panasonic cameras. So, awesome lock. We have 3 cameras up for grabs today, and they'll be chosen and announced at the winners will be announced at the end of the show. We have the Panasonic GX85, the G85, and the grand prize today, a brand spanking new Panasonic GH5 body.
Not mine. You get your own.
No. You're gonna keep yours?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep mine.
Okay. But all those will be announced at the end of the show. Remember, tweet your questions with the hashtag BHPhotoLive. Okay, so we want to thank all of our partners. We're streaming pretty much everywhere on the internet today. So if you love B&H, chances are you probably love some of our partners. We have that list up here right now. You can watch us just about anywhere on the internet. And we're so excited to be sharing the space with all of our partners. Now, before we go along, back in January, Sean, you sat down with Doug in the B&H studios, and you got to talk a little bit about the GH5. That was the big announcement thing. We're going to roll just a little short video of that to give us some context for the camera, and then we'll join back up with the panel.
Where do we start?
All right, so let's talk about the core specs on it then. 20 megapixel, 4/3 chip without the low pass filter, housed in our 5-axis dual IS system in a fully weather sealed mag body with dual memory card slot, new HDMI port for full-size Type A, USB-C input on the side here. Put that in combination with the Venus Engine 10s. This is the brand new revision of the Venus Engine. And you're gonna get higher ISO shooting that wasn't really ever doable before on a Lumix camera. So this will provide the highest level stills capability of any Lumix camera. It's a 20 megapixel chip, so you're gonna get a modest bump in resolution from previous Micro Four Thirds cameras, but the removal of that low pass filter is gonna give you much better micro contrast, better detail overall, nicer higher ISOs. So right out of the gate, the camera's gonna do 4K 60 frame, but that particular frame rate is at 420 8-bit at 150 megabit.
That's good.
Up to 4K 30 in the camera, we'll be able to record 422 10-bit at 150 megabit as well.
And that is huge.
It's a major jump
no longer,
over the predecessors.
I mean, internal is,
Yeah, and this is to, like you said, internally to the memory cards.
Yeah.
You know that with a GH camera, it's always going to be forward thinking with storage as well.
Yeah.
From day one, like I said, we're giving you a very solid package. It's stabilized and doesn't have a record limit.
Thank you, Sean, for showing me the amazing GH5.
Of course.
Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.
All right, so we're back here. The Panasonic GH4 brought 4K video to the masses. It was like the first super affordable camera. That was the high order bid. What's the high order bid of the GH5, Cheung?
So, I mean, you know, it's kind of expanding on the 4K culture, I want to put it now, because, you know, there's so much involved as more people got into shooting 4K and acquiring their content in 4K. So, you know, like you said, we started it with the GH4, just bringing 4K down to everybody, and we're doing something like that again with the GH5. You know, we're bringing 422 10-bit capture down in camera. You don't need an external recorder to capture this anymore. We're bringing 4K 60p down. 5-axis in-body stabilizer that also pairs with our lenses now for our dual IS2 system. You know, kind of the hallmarks of the GH cameras: no record limit, no heat problems, no compatibility issues. You know, it's a platform designed to be used and abused as a camera and a platform that does what you need it to do when you throw a project at it, and just keeps pushing the bounds of what creators want out of a piece of equipment.
Any specs like jump out at anybody on the panel, something that helped you along? So we all had some good time with the GH4.
Well, I used the 4K 60p. I shot my whole piece in 60p.
Yeah.
And I presented it in 60p. You can watch it that way. I could have also made it in 24 or 30 and just slowed everything down. But I'm interested, like, you could have just made an incremental update. The GH5 could have just been the same body, 4K 60p. It could have had 10-bit 422. That's all really exciting. Like, I would have bought that camera anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a whole new body, and it has the in-body image stabilization. Like, they added a lot of stuff.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's kind of the philosophy with Lumix as a camera brand. You know, we don't want to fall into the trap of updating cameras just for the sake of updating cameras. You know, the GH series has always been kind of a labor of love for our engineers. They tirelessly work to make an update that's a legit update. You know, when you get it and we deliver it to end users, we want there to be, you know, that next step, that next push into the industry. And, you know, the GH5, I think, is a big showing of all the things that people like yourselves brought up and questioned and challenged us. You know, I really wish it had this. I think the GH5 is that labor of the community, I think would be a good way to put it. You know, the feedback that we get from you guys is what helps us deliver products that just expand the creativity that you guys are known for.
Yeah, that's true though. I love that you guys take the time to. I mean, it's quite a gap between GH4 and GH5, but still, you guys take the time to actually make it like when the GH5 is around, we were like, oh my god, rather than okay, a little bit more megapixels, this and that.
Yeah.
It's not incremental. Jacki, for you, like as a storyteller, was there a feature that helps you get at what you do a little bit better or more efficiently?
I have a lot to say about that because you know, I work for Refinery 29 now, but my background was just being like a freelance independent filmmaker who was living off of like a Canon 7D that I got from like a grant in college for years. And so when you talk about like adding features to new versions of a camera, it means everything to someone like me or someone starting out who is, you know, spending their current savings on a camera to make it worth it, to make the investment worth it, to make it something that they can grow with over time. And okay, so back to your question. So the feature that meant a lot to me, you know, because I grew up learning how to tell stories with a DSLR back when they first started becoming affordable in like 2010 or whatever. It was always like, oh, you can do 60p, but it's in 720. Everything, if you look at Vimeo videos from that era, you're just like, oh, this just looks all right. It looks all right. It's kind of soft. And now to be able to shoot 120 frames per second or 180 frames per second in actual HD and 60 in 4K is huge. Like, to be able to achieve like that kind of professional quality and crispness at the price point and the form factor is amazing. It's like a dream come true for someone who's just getting into filmmaking. And as far as like, okay, big picture, like this, the democratization of this creative technology in the 21st century is only benefiting all of us in the work that we do.
And I'm sure we have a lot of nerdy questions about frame rates and the storytelling process. Remember, you can ask those to the panel. Just hit us on Twitter with the hashtag BHPhotoLive. We'll answer those at the end of the show. If we don't get to you on the show, that's okay. We have a huge, awesome social media team here at B&H, and they'll get right back with you, okay?
I've answered like 2 of them. But I hear they're going to answer all of them.
They're going to answer all of them. They're going to answer all of them today. All right. So we're going to transition here and talk a little bit about using the camera in the field now. And I don't know, did you guys know that the Panasonic GH5 can actually be used to make still photographs? Did anybody know about this?
What?
What's a photograph?
I mean, I knew.
I'd shot some with the GH4, but working with the GH5, the first thing that I noticed, like right out of the gate, was the viewfinder. This thing had incredible magnification, and it helps with framing some of these shots, like as they're coming up here in the stream. I was able to take the camera out, and I shot a little bit downtown, I shot a little bit uptown, and I loved that magnification and that refresh rate. You know, one of the things that kept me from shooting mirrorless for the longest time was the low refresh rate that was on a lot of the finders, and I wasn't quite sure what I was shooting. Also, with the GH5, I can see into the shadows. Like, there's at least, I'm seeing at least a stop better on the ISO sensitivity, and I'm able to really get into the shadows and see it. It's not muddy. It looks really good, man.
Yeah, and there's actually a whole lot behind that. I mean, you know, along with all the other things that we updated, you know, obviously the video features are always kind of what take the #1 in what people are looking at the GH cameras with. But for stills photographers, I mean, this thing is jam-packed with updates for them. You know, the new way that we determine color, the way we sample color off the sensor is completely different. We use 9 times the amount of information that typical other cameras use to determine color. So, you know, you're getting yellows look yellow, blues look blue, reds look red.
One of the things that really jumped out at me was that the processor in camera is much, much better. Whatever the JPEG engine is, like, I'm getting really great usable stuff right out of the camera, and it feels so good. All right, so have you all shot any stills with this thing? Locke, have you shot any stills with the GH5 in New York?
I only tested 6K photo.
How was that?
Yeah.
What's
At first, it do sound gimmicky to me, to be honest. But then it is good to have that option, because it's hard to say is it video or photos.
Yeah.
But then it's almost like you can think of it as a 30 FPS burst rate.
That's the thing.
It works pretty well. And then I love that when you pick the shot you want, you just use touch screen to scroll between the shot, and then okay, I want that, save that. 18 megapixel, that's good enough for most of the stuff.
Yeah, you're getting essentially like the burst rate when you're using 6K photo is 6,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels. So you're getting an 18 megapixel grab of whatever you shot, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. I kind of felt the same way when I tested that mode. I wasn't sure if I'd made any pictures. I got nervous, but then the decisive moment that I needed was right there, and you can select it and save. So that's really, really cool.
Well, and even just on the body, you can see a lot of things they added for photographers. Like now we have dual SD card slots.
Very nice.
Which, as a video person, I thought, I don't know if I really need that. But actually, I use it all the time now.
I need that though. The dual SD card slot, it will be really good because you can shoot 4K into 2 SD cards at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if one of them die, you still have another copy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have proxy files too on one of the cards, as opposed to, you know, just having that huge file.
I send JPEGs to one, RAW to the other. I send
yeah.
video to one and photos to the other because I do a lot of time lapses, and it's just easier from an organization standpoint to have those split apart.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's also relay record where it just keeps rolling.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it would. Like,
right?
I thought maybe it would like stop the recording and then I'd have to start another recording and it would go to card 2, but it actually just keeps going.
And it's completely hot swappable too. So when that status light goes off, You can swap card one out, drop,
Oh, really?
drop a new card
Wow,
in,
it's-
and just keep going.
While
Yeah.
it's recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it has status lights. It
And
didn't
it has
have that.
status
It didn't
lights
have
in
that
there, too,
before.
yeah.
Now you know if it's writing or not or what
Yeah.
it's doing.
Also, one light for each card slot.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. Well, for documentary, I'd imagine that's huge. I don't know if you have ever had. Has anybody ever had this? You're sitting there, you're doing the interview, and it just.
Yeah. I've had
Can you say that again?
to stop because I need to switch cards,
Yeah.
and especially if you're right in the moment of someone like saying something really
Yeah,
important.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
It's the most stressful thing.
yeah, yeah.
Jacki, you just see things differently. I saw your film this week, the slow motion movie that we're going to show here in a second. And I just wanted you to talk a little bit about kind of pre-visualizing something in slow motion. Because now you're not going to an external recorder for this. You don't have to compromise on record time anymore. Like, how do you pre-visualize creating a narrative or a story image that's in slow motion? How do you pre-visualize something like
Oh
that?
man. Well,
I have the hardest time thinking in terms of slow. I don't know.
yeah. No, I get that. I get that. I'm worried that my answer is going to be too boring for you.
No.
Obviously, in video, it's about the movement, right? And so for the thing that we're going to show that I made with this camera, it was just imagining what was actually going to be captivating in slow motion. Some things super boring. You don't need slow motion. But okay, so in my piece, we'll see a few things that are advantageous in slow motion. One is just like the movement of smoke grenades that only last in and of themselves like 60 seconds. So when you're shooting that at a slower frame rate, you get far more footage to work with. You can catch like the brief smiles on people's faces as they're moving. Like you're in the moment, and in the edit, you can see that far more clearly even than seeing it when you're actually filming it. Because filming in slow motion is kind of like having a bizarre dream that you get to record and look back on later and then fine tune what your actual like in and out points are.
You shot this in 120?
I did.
And then was it like, how much did you slow it down? What was your final frame rate?
Well, it was ultimately in 24,
Yeah.
23.98, whatever. So it was
That's got to
It's
be like
pretty slow.
20% slow motion.
yeah. It's just surreal.
It is, and it's awesome. And it made me so happy seeing it this week. I was having a hard week, and the colors, everything, the movement was really, really fantastic. Let's take a look at Jacki's film now, and then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about it. Jacki, how did you do that?
Well, I'll tell you. So it might surprise you, but I shot all of that totally handheld, and it just feels wrong when I'm shooting handheld. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with shooting handheld, but especially if it's a 24 frames per second project, I'm just like, you can tell that it's handheld, but just to be able to run around Northeast Los Angeles where I shot that and have fun with a bunch of like cool teen girls and my co-director Cheung, we were able to be so efficient because we didn't have to mess around with lots of gear.
You weren't using like a shoulder rig or anything?
No.
And was that, you had the in-body image stabilization?
I'm incredulous. No, I don't believe. What was that?
You were using the stabilization.
Yes.
Built in.
Yeah. I loved it. And even on 24 frames per second, when I tried out the camera, it was very usable. And it's such a surprise. Just like that alone, radically, being able to get like clean, steady, perfect static shots handheld is just, it's a boon for a run and gun piece of work like this. We were so light on our feet. Our day, oh my gosh, we were planning on having like a 6 to 8 hour day in the hot LA sun. We ended up finishing like before noon.
Yeah. Well, that frame rate, you could shoot everything 5 times faster.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
exactly.
awesome. And you got to rewatch you've got to rewatch the film. So we're going to be we'll have that in our Facebook stream, so you can go back and watch Jacki's film. Again, if you have questions, the filmmaker's right here. Okay, so please tweet your questions at us. Use the hashtag BHPhotoLive. That's BHPhotoLive. You get awesome answers from Jacki, from the rest of our panelists, and you'll also be entered in the contest to win the Panasonic GX85, the G85, and of course the grand prize. Locke, you got to hold that thing up, man. Panasonic GH5 body.
Although Locke has all the accessories on right now.
I know. That's just the body, folks.
That's the
That's
body.
the
This
body.
is-
It's the body that's coming in there.
All those
Yeah, let's be
accessories are available at
realistic.
B&H.
Also true, Sean. That's very, very true. All right, now, Griffin, you are also a big-time minimalist when it comes to going to set or getting the story. Do you carry just carts of equipment around with you? No. You carry
In fact,
a backpack.
I kind of want to see like what this. Oh, geez, this is heavy. Yeah, that's too much for me. I travel a lot. I mean, I was covering the election out of a backpack, and I never wanted to check a bag on the plane. And I like just shooting handheld against my body. I mean, I like to think that I'm pretty stable like this. I've learned to be pretty stable, but especially with tight lenses, especially in 4K, you can normally see like my little tiny bit of like handheld jitter.
Yeah.
And I noticed the in-body image stabilization gets rid of that entirely. Like there's still like handheld movement when I'm moving, but it just takes away that little shake that was annoying.
And you can breathe.
Yeah.
No, you know that
Yeah.
feeling where you're trying to get a shot and you're like,
Oh, I know that feeling.
yeah.
Locke, do you have that? You shoot a lot of. Well, you shoot almost exclusively handheld.
Yeah, I'm just lazy. I don't even want to take a tripod, too heavy. Yeah, it's almost exclusively handheld.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that's how you need to be. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. It's the Bronx. It's the dead of winter. You take the GH5 and yourself into a freezer.
Yeah. I mean, I was wearing a coat.
What's the doc about? We're going to take a look at it here in
Yeah.
just a second. But what's the doc you were working on?
So in New York, I mean, all over the world, but especially in New York, a lot of cocktails that I might have these beautiful pieces of clear ice, these really large ice cubes. And I just wanted to know where these come from. So I went up to an ice maker in the Bronx, and I also profiled some bartenders and just kind of wanted to see this process of how do they get from these giant blocks of ice. It involves chainsaws, and then somehow makes it into your drink eventually.
Did you use any stabilization equipment for the shoot?
No, I didn't use like a glide cam or anything. I used a tripod. Wait, did I? Yeah, I used a tripod for time lapses, of course. Maybe a couple shots, but most of it's handheld. Yeah, I'm not using any shoulder rigs or anything.
All right, let's check out this documentary from our good friend, Griffin.
Sculpting ice, I've been creating ice work for approximately 20 years.
Paul Magnaldi is seeing his business shift from ice sculptures to ice in cocktails.
The bars that serve bourbons and expensive whiskeys, for some reason they seem to have preference with one large cube in the glass instead of many small ones. I would say 100 different bars and restaurants in the city use these cubes.
Crystal clear ice is popping up in all of New York City's best bars. So what's the story with these beautiful hand-cut cubes?
Bartending has changed. We've stepped up our game. We've gotten better liqueurs. We make our own syrups. Why not better ice?
At the Grain, Blake Bora makes his ice blocks with a cooler in his bar's freezer.
I do make it in-house. It's a very small production.
And cuts them apart with an udon noodle knife. By freezing directionally, he forces the air bubbles to one side.
The bottom part here is cloudy, air pockets in there. This is the good stuff, like glass. This is me sanding it down a little bit.
Carving a sphere minimizes surface area, doesn't dilute your drink so quickly.
Griffin, I'm very thirsty now. Now, you did this a little bit differently in terms of color profile. How did you shoot the doc? Or did you choose one profile for one thing, maybe something else for an insert shot? What's your process like?
I like to shoot everything in natural color profile. That's how I shoot almost everything. It's how I shot a documentary called Sriracha when I shot with the GH3. It's how I shot everything with the presidential election on the GH4. And I still like that one on the GH5. It's not like the most flat color profile that's available, but it's close to what's appropriate for broadcast. And I was doing a lot of stuff for TV, so it just made sense to shoot something that could go on TV, but also has a little bit of latitude. It's like a little bit flatter than the standard color profile. So it's just the one I like a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot that we've done under the hood to expand on our color profiles, make them a lot easier to work with. And that goes back to like that color science, the new way that we're interpreting info off the sensor. And like to what you're saying about with broadcasts, and the fact that Rec 709 is what a lot of stuff's done. The GH5 now has a Rec 709 like color profile with
like
control.
709.
Like 709. For that real quick shoot and send right off and not have to worry too much about color profiling. But I'm actually curious what you shot the music video in.
So, okay. So I'll tell you, I shot it completely flat. I don't always shoot everything flat. But especially for a music video where I wanted to have control over the colors that I brought out and the look of the thing, which it's kind of like Instagram filtery, and I just wanted to know that I had the flexibility to do that. So shooting just flat, like log in the camera.
So this is the Vlog.
Yes, it's
setting.
the Vlog. I neglected to say that. So, sorry, y'all. But yeah, shooting in Vlog, very flexible, very easy to work with in post. Nice. Basically a dream. Yeah.
Nice.
And this is your opportunity. If you have questions about color grading, like if you want to go deep and grade on your own, or if you're the kind of person that wants to get the best thing straight out of the camera, drop that onto the line and get it up, send those questions to us. Use the hashtag BHPhotoLive, BHPhotoLive, and we'll be answering them at the end of the show. If not, somebody from the awesome B&H social team will be hitting you back. All right. Now, Griffin, I have one more question about this. So
Sure.
You shot your entire doc in 4K 60.
Yeah.
Why that choice?
Well, it was funny because I think someone at Panasonic was like, are you sure you want to do that? Because not everyone likes to watch 60p content.
Yeah.
And in fact, I imagine we didn't just watch it that way. I imagine this live stream probably is in 30p. Oh, it's in 60? Wow. It's not in 4K, is it?
That's pretty sweet.
No. All right, cool. So maybe you watched it in 60. I thought for this, it would be fun just to try it. I wanted to know, would I like it? Like, would it look okay if I shoot it right? If I'm shooting pretty stuff and I'm thinking about the shots and making it look cinematic. Will it look cool? But also for this subject matter, just seeing like chainsaw blades going through stuff and lots of ice spitting out, having double the frame rate, and each frame has half the shutter speed of what I would have done before. So I'm shooting at a 1/125th or 1/120th shutter speed. Everything's clearer, so you're just gonna be able to see all those details a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think it worked out.
I think it's for different purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like this, for shooting something, you better stay at 30p, something probably 60p. Yeah, I think it really depends. It's not like one rule to rule them all.
Do you have a rule? Like when you're vlogging, do you have a frame rate that you stick with, that you feel like, I'm happy here?
Oh, I always shoot at 25p.
Always 25,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, in here, 30p.
Okay. International man. All around town, which is so cool. You've been hanging out with the GH5 for a few days here in New York City. Where'd you go? What did you do?
Oh, I went to Williamsburg.
Williamsburg? Nice.
Williamsburg.
Brooklyn for our viewers in Brooklyn. Locke was hanging out in Billyburg. All right. What was good? Did you get some good?
Yeah, I
some
got
good
some.
food?
Yeah, I got. Oh, I got some ramen.
Oh, nice,
I got all the
man.
way here to.
Came here to eat ramen.
That's
in
good though.
Williamsburg.
That's really good though.
Yeah.
Good. You
And
heard
then-
it here, folks. That's a rarity. Awesome.
And I shot some pictures, not pictures, video of the Williamsburg Bridge.
Very cool.
It's my favorite
thanks.
bridge.
It is
Yeah.
a
in New
it's a
York.
very beautiful bridge.
pink.
Yeah. All right, so we have a video of our B&H team hanging out with Locke, following around New York City. Let's take a look at that right now.
Oh, okay.
Looks like the face detection worked really well as well. It even recognized my eye.
GH4, it also got some flatter color profile, and I love it a lot because on the 5D Mark III, Williamsburg. One place that last time I was here, I didn't got time to check it out. Really want to check it out and take some more. As I say, back then at Digital Web, we used the 5D for the main purpose, just like every other do. Now GH3 and 4 is still in a place. I think the main thing for me is the continuous AF in video mode. Now I'm shooting, I've set it with 5SS stabilization with electronic. Now it looks really good on the camera screen. And zoom into 60 millimeters, equivalent to 120.
testing the autofocus?
Autofocus, like the face detection, it works really well.
It's a huge difference because there's, what do we have on the GH4? There's 40 some odd points?
Yeah, so every Lumix camera up to the GH4 had 49 points of focus. GH5 is 225 points now, but it's more than just the points. You know, we've upped the DFD system. So DFD we introduced back around GH4. This uses the new version of it, which adds vector tracking into the fold for how it's calculating, but it's also, you know, it's reading out information at 480 hertz versus 240 on the previous system. So every adjustment that you can make is that much faster. And you get a lot of like custom profiles now to tune the focusing to your specific need in both photo and in video. So, you know, tracking people running towards you in, you know, kind of like what you're doing, where you know, you sit and you're doing a vlog and you move a little bit, you can get it to lock on and stay right on your face, right on a person, subject, tracking, whatever you're setting it up for.
And I think it's not just the hardware, the algorithm is pretty good. Like when I shooting just on the street, I just put it on full AFC, so just let the camera itself to decide where to focus on. The algorithm is pretty good. Like I haven't seen much that I wanted to focus on myself and then it focused on the background. It's probably only happened like a couple of times.
Yeah, this is a big question I think photographers and filmmakers get asked a lot. Do you use autofocus?
Kind of. This is a hard question to answer because I turn off continuous AF. I don't do like the face tracking because I don't want my shots to do anything that I don't start.
Say it to do,
I want to tell the camera what to do. But I keep autofocus on, just not continuous, and I do use the push to focus one area, just to like set focus, start rolling, and that's how I shoot. How did you do?
Well, because I shot it in slow motion, I kept everything just manual focus.
There's no autofocus in VFR
No,
mode.
sadly, no. But shooting in 24 or 30 or a frame like that, I'm awakening to the possibilities of using like continuous autofocus because, like you were saying, with your work, it's if you don't have to worry about like eyes slipping out of focus in a vlog or in an interview, that's huge.
Well, I noticed everything in your film was very in focus. It was very clear. So you're in manual.
Yeah.
And are you using? How are you focusing?
I'm magnifying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that you said that it was all in focus. There are some softer parts that are more like lyrical because for me, being able to be in manual control of everything is huge for intentionality. But having the good magnification in the viewfinder and on the screen is like obviously an indispensable tool.
Yeah. So I have a question. Yeah. So we've had in the GH cameras, we've had the ability to shoot, you know, obviously shutter speed, ISO. We also have the ability to shoot shutter angle and ISO.
Yeah.
Is that something that any of you have used?
Yes.
I switched to it.
You switched into it?
No, I didn't know.
No use on that one?
Shutter angle, I use it. Because I don't know what it is. Like mentally, I'm like 48, 50, 48. I get very stressed about the proper shutter angle. So yes, if I'm using a GH camera, I use the shutter angle.
Well, I can't remember. Did the GH4 have that too? Okay, I just turned it on the GH4, and then on the GH5 I noticed it, and so now I shoot in 180 degrees instead of a shutter speed, and then I noticed you can change the ISO to gain if you're a video person who knows gain.
That I didn't know.
Yeah,
it's built completely so that there is that customization to make it a tool and get out of your way. But one of the cool things that we actually got a lot of feedback from, and I think this is something from your past that you may get. So wedding videographers, you're shooting, you walk into a studio and you get the banding and the lights, things like that. Well, the camera also has a thing we call synchroscan.
Synchroscan, yeah.
So in post, that's a nightmare to fix. But if you're using shutter angle, in synchroscan, you can fine-tune your actual shutter angle to actually get out of that range that's causing that banding and save yourself a ton of post time because we know spending less time in post means more money in your pocket and a job.
Huge, yeah. So. And post is also, one more thing on autofocus before I forget. Jumping back, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this. Can you turn that thing around, man? This joystick on the back is I love this thing.
The back button
The
focus.
back button focus. And I love being able to press in and get right to my center point, or it remembers where your previous autofocus point was. And for stills, and I think even like if you're setting up zones for using like maybe AF to get to your starting point for video, it's a really great tool. And you're not hunting around like fiddling with a lot of stuff. It's just right there. So I wanted to mention that.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that I can just move my one area around with it because I'm not a photographer, so I'm not used to using back button focus. But you can also like touch the screen and move your area.
Oh yeah.
around.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. All right, got to talk about 10-bit. Got to talk about 10-bit for post-production. Folks, thoughts on moving to 10-bit?
You shot that. Did you shoot that way?
Yeah, 10-bit 422. To be quite honest, like, tools are tools for me, and they serve a purpose, which is like the storytelling in the project. So even though it is like obviously to my advantage to be like as rich in bits and detail as possible, I like that it's there so it can like get out of my way and there's not a limitation. Not to be a Luddite about it.
No.
I used it because it's great, but it's great enough that I don't have to think about it.
Well, and no one's going to see the difference like in the camera. It's going to look identical.
That's true.
Yeah. In fact, I imagine the screen is an 8-bit screen.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
In fact, most people's computers would be 8-bit screens.
Sure.
Yeah. But if you're doing all that like color correction and effects, then you can use that extra information.
Yeah, and that's actually, I mean, like one of the reasons, you know, like I was saying, the feedback we get from users was that, you know, with Vlog in the GH4, well, the GH4 recorded 8-bit internally. So when you try to grade 8-bit or you really try to push it, you know, you can cause banding, you can cause some issues with it. You know, now that 10-bit's in it, you get that much better file to work with, and you're actually getting the full potential out of Vlog internally in the camera. So you're limiting how much you have to use externally, you know, unless in this case, if you want to do 422 10-bit and 60p, then you still can use an external device for that, but it's one package, it's small. Like you said, you can run and gun like this, and you're not kit out like this all the time.
Should we explain for people who don't know what 10-bit is? What 10-bit
Your explanation from Photo Plus, I think, was awesome for it.
Yeah. Well, so it's the amount of colors that you could record for each pixel. So 8-bit is what, 16 million possible colors, I think? And 10-bit is 1 billion possible colors. So just more choices to write down.
Yeah. You get that much more information for gradations. So, you know, the blue sky example is always that big one. You grade an 8-bit file, and you really push those blue skies, and you get this chunky, you know, banded out sky. Well, 10-bit, that's one of the ways that you fix that. More color detail. And then 422 getting more resolution out of that color just makes everything that much better.
Yeah, 422 is also a color, how we sample color.
Yeah.
But it's one of those features that I think, you know, we're all using this as like our A camera for storytelling here, but it also makes it a really invaluable piece of kit if you're working like on a movie or something else. You're going to have enough information there to make this work with whatever else is on set for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, the camera fits, you know, because of its feature set. It's, you know, it naturally finds a home as a B camera as well because of how flexible you can grade this camera to fit whatever other system you're shooting with, or if you're shooting with our you know, bigger brother cameras, the Vericams, you know, you can mix it right in with that. I mean, we share Vlog. You know, dynamic range is a little different, but it mixes in there. Yeah.
That's rad.
Yeah.
No, it's really helpful because I find at work and out in the world that I'm shooting on these like multi-day doc shoots where I'm not always using the same camera, and then at the end of the day you do have to edit all of that footage together, and it has to live in the same house, in the same world.
Right.
That actually reminds me of something else that we were actually talking about, because, you know, we were talking about the SD cards. In fact, we're dual SD card in it. But we've actually we've added something else for situations exactly like that, where if you're on a set and you've got multiple cameras going across, you get your camera set up the way you want it for your day, and you may not be shooting with that camera tomorrow. Well, GH5 save all your camera settings out into the SD card, label it out. You get a different camera the next day, load it in, and now that camera's your camera again. You don't have to go through that setup process anymore.
That's great.
Or you get a setup and somebody else wants to see your setup.
Maybe next step is a Panasonic cloud, and then you just upload that to the cloud, and just restore it to your new camera, something like that.
Well,
maybe.
and Jackie, I was curious if you were shooting in Vlog, you weren't using the LUTs, like you could load a LUT in.
No.
So you were seeing the flat image.
I was seeing the flat image. Some people like to add a LUT, but maybe I'm just kind of superstitious. But I like to maintain the flat so I can make sure that I'm shooting in flat. Yeah.
But the LUTs are new.
Yeah.
Now you can add. Now you can load them in the camera.
Yeah. So with this, the Vlog update, it unlocks the Vlog color profile in it, but we've added now the ability to load in up to 4 of your own preview LUTs into the camera.
Yeah.
Comes default with a Vlog L to Rec 709. But as long as you can output a VLT file, so it's a log file for the Vericam system, you can load them right into the camera, store them in, and be able to preview that in camera and also out over HDMI.
Yeah.
So if you're using a simple monitor, you can also still preview it. So
We're taking a look right now at Jacki's video, looking at ungraded and graded.
that just looks so cool.
I love the way that smoke looks.
Me too.
What lenses were you using?
I actually rocked the kit lens this entire day.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
looks great.
Thanks.
This is always a question, and we get asked a lot of questions about what lenses do you use. Micro Four Thirds, I think, has this great history with all the adapters that are in the marketplace. People, putting old glass or cinema glass on this little body, but just for the panel, what's in your bag? What's your primary go-to? Do you adapt, or do you like to use the native glass?
I do adapt in my everyday life. Right now, for a lot of my work at Refinery 29, I'm deep into Zeiss primes, and I don't have a whole lot to say about it, to be quite honest. But I like to deal with somewhere in between, like a wide and a portrait length. Mm-hmm. Nothing is better to me than 85 millimeter Zeiss cine glass to get such a nice separation in between foreground and background.
Doesn't get much sharper than that. That's true. But you're running gun all the time, living in a backpack, so I'm assuming you're probably not taking.
Yeah, we have all these cine lenses
Right.
up here, and I have not jumped into cine glass, mostly because I like how small the Micro Four Thirds, the native Panasonic lenses are. It's like if I'm already trying to get as compact as I can into a bag, I can fit 6 of these lenses and 2 bodies in my backpack.
That's awesome.
So I really like. Right now I have the 12 millimeter. It's a prime. It's an f1.4, which I just think is amazing to get f1.4 in a 12 millimeter.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's actually what I used a lot for the
dock.
For the dock, yeah.
Locke, what are you carrying around with you?
Well, I haven't got a GH5 yet, but if I got, I probably will pick these 12 to 60 millimeters, f2.8 to f4, or the older one, the 12 to 35. Yeah, I think they are really good rate, especially this one is equivalent to 24 to 120. That is so nice. You zoom in, boom.
You can work fast with this guy, which is so nice.
Yeah. But I would be struggle between these two lenses. This is brand new.
Yeah.
I would struggle between that because the older 12 to 35, that is fixed aperture f2.8. Yeah, I would struggle between the two. And I do like to use native lenses on them. Like you said, it's smaller, it's more compact, and then yeah, I think it kind of for my work, for one and gun, for my work, maybe documentary, it kind of defeats the purpose when you put in adapter and then you lost the AF. That's important to me. And
some adapters don't pass along all the
info.
focus information.
Yeah.
But it is nice that on a Micro Four Thirds body, I think you have one of the shortest flange distances, the distance between the sensor and the edge here. So you can put almost any lens that's out there if you just get the right piece of metal to put
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, people go crazy about fitting CCTV lenses, whatever. Yeah.
You get a lot of questions
Yeah.
like, what's the weirdest lens question you've gotten?
So, we've gotten everything from, setting up, kits like this, well, what's the best setup to go with? Hey, what optics do we suggest? We've always loved the fact that the community has taken the camera and they do pretty much everything with it. I mean, like you said, the 4/3 platform, the micro 4/3 platform in this case, it is one of the most adaptable systems there. But there's trade-offs one way or another.
Yeah.
If you're going to be using third-party glass, you're going to be using, like a Metabones adapter or something like that, you can run into issues, like you said, where some adapters don't transfer focus. The dual IS2 system isn't going to work when you're using adapted optics. So you're
the
stuck.
in-body image stabilization works with the stabilization in the lens.
Exactly, yeah. So when you use our native glass, any of the Lumix glass, or the Lumix Leica glass, is one of our incredible partners with optic design. You take full advantage of our dual IS2 system. You take full advantage of our DFD system for focusing in those cases where you are going to use it. And we cover everything now from an 8mm fisheye, which we've got, all the way out to the 100 to 400 millimeter Leica, super telephoto lens. So you can rest assured that in this platform there is a piece of glass from us that will match what you want to shoot with in those that field of view. Like you're saying, 85 millimeter. I love 85 millimeter. I love it so much I tattooed it on myself.
Wait, did you?
You have an 85 right there? That's great.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, but
That's amazing.
it's that great lens to separate background and things like that, and we have an optic for it. So,
Man, that's awesome. So
Right on.
we're kind of getting to that magical time in the show where we where we take some questions from the audience. Again, if you have any questions for any of our panelists or about the Panasonic GH5, tweet the questions at us. Use the hashtag BHPhotoLive. If we don't answer your question here in the stream, we're happy to do that over social media in the next little bit. So let's get into some questions. You all ready? Okay, let's see. First up, and I'd love to hear from the panel on this because we've all used GH4. So Jacki, have you noticed any improvements in low light performance with the GH5 over, say, the GH4 or previous GH camera?
Well, I did not use the GH4 except for I tried it out once, but from what I hear and from what I've seen in some demo videos, there's a ton of improvement in low light in the GH5. It still thrives in daylight.
Yes.
Is what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Because I think if I had shot at night, I would have had to gotten a lot more creative with lighting. But just from seeing the rest of y'all's work, you maneuvered that pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, I was shooting in dark bars.
Yeah, it looked great.
Well, and I think one thing you told me that makes a lot of sense that would improve it is we lost the crop factor for 4K.
Right.
It used to be that on the GH5 you shot in 1080 and it used the full width of the sensor, and then in 4K, just to make it a little bit easier on the processor, it would shoot the middle 4K of
That's
the sensor.
the GH4.
The GH4
Right,
is
right.
full. Yep. Now we're back to a camera, the GH5, that shoots 4K and 1080 the same. It uses the full width of the sensor. So you're naturally getting more light because you're picking up the whole sensor.
yeah,
a lot
and
cleaner.
it takes a 5.1K image, downsamples it into 4K, so you're getting around a stop of better performance that way because you're downsampling an image. And then the Venus engine 10 that's in the camera adds roughly around another stop of performance into it. So yeah, it's a whole package improvement.
Yeah, I think the low light obviously is not the best for low light camera out there. But when for example, I shoot almost everything in automatic. So I go from outdoor and then go straight into indoor. The ISO just went up itself. It's definitely usable for most of the situation, even in the subway, even inside the subway that's dark. I think it's much better than the GH4 already.
Well, so I noticed, and I didn't take full advantage of this, but you can set limits on ISO and stuff in different for the auto settings, which for me, I never really use auto settings on a camera because I like to be in control of all of that
agreed.
stuff. Yeah, but it's good to know if in a pinch you just needed to be like full auto, like you're running, doing something, switching light environments, like going from outdoor into a subway terminal, that you could know that your ISO isn't going to max out at like 6400 or something, that you can have control of how far the camera will go.
Yeah, actually, before that, the last YouTube channel I use I work in, everybody knows which channel.
Sure.
And when we went on to like travel special, at that time we still shooting with the 5D as the main camera. But every time we go on travel special, I will ask for either GH3, and then later I will ask for GH4, because on the 5D, everything is manual. But then I love to have, especially when we are travel, I love to have a camera, everything set in automatic. So we'll just, when something suddenly happens, the 5D is not ready, I just pick it up, turn it on, and shoot.
Go, yeah.
I mean, that's it way long time before I start on vlogging as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is, at that time, I especially picked like GH3 or 4 just for that purpose, a great second camera that's always ready. Just turn it on, press record, and it's doing its job.
Yep. Now, 4K uses a lot of horsepower, so one of the questions that I think gets asked a lot is, what is the expected battery life out of the camera? And, you know, I know there's a technical spec for this, Sean, but I'm interested, like, anecdotally, like, what kind of life are you all getting out of the camera when you're shooting in 4K video? So I guess the question is, like, if you're doing a production, maybe the GH4 or GH5 becomes like your primary camera. How many batteries do you need to get you through a full day?
Well, it uses the same batteries as the GH3 and GH4, which is nice. I'm glad that it's the same one. It definitely is a slightly diminished battery life, and I assume it's not quite because of the 4K. I actually assume it's because the in-body image stabilization probably uses a bunch of power.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of things.
And then processing
as
well.
The processor stabilizer, they're all contributing factors to battery drain.
It's a bigger, more powerful camera. It's going to use more battery. But I carry around like 2 or 3 batteries usually.
And you feel comfortable?
I would never need more than 3 in a day, I don't think.
Great. Jackie, how many did you burn through on your music video shoot?
On a half day, I was good with 2. And going into my second battery, I only used like a third of the battery. So that's awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, similar. I carry just 2 and shoot for the whole day. The second battery still got like half battery life, something like that.
Nice.
I mean, I was used to the GH3 could do like a whole day on one battery. I mean, these are good batteries. They have a lot of power in them. But you will get a little bit less on this one.
All right, so big glass question here. All right, since the Panasonic Lumix GH5 has an anamorphic mode, does Panasonic plan to manufacture micro four thirds anamorphic lenses? Maybe with optical image stabilization.
That's a Sean question.
Right? So, I mean, this has come up a lot. I don't know. I honestly don't know. You know, the anamorphic optic world it's still relatively small, and you have amazing players in that field that are already making some amazing anamorphic glass, and there's some that are making native micro four thirds anamorphic glass. So I don't know if we're ever going to get down into that path.
And you're not the guy in Japan that makes the lenses.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing to say is always keep the suggestions coming, because we feed that stuff to our team in Japan.
Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit about post. Jump in there. We've got a great question here about system requirements. I think this is important. You get a camera that has this much data like being pulled off of it. I want to know, what are the minimum system recommendations for editing GH5 4K 60 frames per second footage at 150 megabits per second? How about 400 megabits per second? What are y'all rocking at home to cut this stuff?
Well,
are you all
I actually went out and bought a new computer. So I think I have a 2011 iMac, and QuickTime could not play. It could not keep up with the 4K 60p. It just couldn't natively play it. Now I could have proxied everything. I could have turned all my files into an editable format, edited that way, then finished the video. But I wanted to be able to shoot in 4K 60 and view it in 4K 60 while I was editing. I thought, like, this will be fun. So I had to go out and buy a brand new iMac. But the new iMac could handle it just the base model right out of the
Oh.
Apple Store was fine.
That's cool.
Because I just got the MacBook Pro 13-inch touch bar. I tried the 10-bit. It can't really play back 10-bit in live in real time. I mean, but then it could, if I transcode it, definitely it can work.
It's cool.
On the MacBook Pro 13-inch.
Jacki, are you and I like the lone proxy users on this panel? Like, I like proxy files. I like moving fast with a cut.
Yeah, I didn't actually shoot this with proxy.
I feel so bad. No, not at all.
But what am I editing on? For this piece, I was editing it on like a 2015 MacBook Pro, like some sort of upgraded memory. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I should have studied like what kind of computer specs I have, but I did notice a little lag with the 4K, but everything else was totally fine. But I will say, so a lot of us who edit video just on laptops are familiar with 4K lag, and we expect it. It's not a big deal, and playing it back while I was editing it, just rewatching, editing, it wasn't so laggy that I couldn't work efficiently. It wasn't frustrating. I didn't have one of those like moments, which is enough for me.
I do try 8-bit. 8-bit works well. 8-bit 4K works well without transcoding. Works well. Just play it or editing in real life. Real time. Yeah. Yeah, that works. 8-bit works definitely.
Okay. All right. So, Locke, what is the maximum workable ISO for you in a low light situation?
I haven't really tested out all the ISO settings yet. I set it to ISO 6400. Works really well. Anywhere I go in these 2 days in New York City. Obviously, I don't try to go to the darkest place to test it. Probably not that practical anyway. So it works with most situations you can throw at it.
For stills, I think it's a great camera going to like ISO 1600 if you're using the JPEG engine. That's the honest answer. You can get good stuff, I think, at ISO 3200. If you're shooting in RAW, obviously there's a lot more recovery that you can do there.
Yeah.
But like the honest answer for me is I feel really good at 1600. I'm happy to go to 3200 with a little bit of cleanup. Yeah. All right, for you all?
I didn't include this in my piece, but I was shooting on the Colorado Street Bridge in Pasadena and around LA at 1600 ISO around a little after sunset, and it was a little noisy, but it was relatively clean as an image, and it was really workable.
Oh, that's good to hear from a more serious filmmaker because I just make vlogs and
you don't just make vlogs, you make amazing vlogs.
Oh, thank you. But I mean, a little bit noisier in vlogs, that will kind of be all right. So I'm happy to hear from a more serious filmmaker. I mean, not serious is not a problem.
It's okay to be serious.
Serious, yeah.
All right, so this is a great question because there's a lot of folks that are in the GH ecosystem. Like they're shooting GH4, they're using it, come out, they're going to get a GH5. The question here is, if I keep my GH4 as a second camera, will I see a noticeable difference when shooting 400 megabits per second? Like we're trying to blend, I assume, the GH5 and the GH4 together. Griffin, maybe you can speak to this because you're
I think
working pretty actively.
you should keep your GH4. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Amen.
And I don't think, I mean, I'm someone who, whenever I see on forums people like freaking out about bit rates, I always laugh a little bit because I think like you're not going to see the difference between 400 megabits and 150 megabits. I think when you start messing with the image, then you will. But if you're just shooting a 2-camera shoot and one of them's shooting a higher bit rate, I don't think you'll see the difference. The lenses will make a bigger difference.
Lighting.
Are you lighting it? Yeah, I mean, I think people get too freaked out about bit rates. Like, just shoot a good thing.
Because I think it's more to do about color grading, right?
Yeah,
If not much grading you have to do, then it doesn't really matter because 8-bit, as far as I know, 8-bit already shoots the amount of color that human eye can see anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
10-bit is more than human eye can see. It's just the buffer you can tweak. That's as far as I know. Is that correct?
Well, it's a lot of things. It's all so that you have more flexibility to output the best file that you can in the end. And to the 400 megabit, the all intra update, which is I think the part that people miss in that 400 megabit when they're asking a question about it, is that it's 400 megabit all eye, which means the issues like that come up currently when you're editing these files. All eye will be easier on your editing platform because the software in the computer doesn't have to interpret the IPV codec and really make your workflow a lot easier with all eyes. So it's like you said, you may not see it physically, while you're shooting, but when you throw this thing in the editing software, it's going to be a lot easier on your computer. You can, plow through footage a lot faster. And
Any multi-camera shooters here?
Sometimes.
Occasionally.
Yeah. I work solo sometimes, and I'll operate 2 cameras by myself. I'll set up the master and then, use the other for inserts or as like the details type of camera. And how do y'all feel about working that way? You're good with it?
Yeah, a couple times in the ICE documentary, when I was doing the chainsaw stuff, I was worried that maybe they wouldn't do it very much. So I was like, I'm going to double up all my shots. So that's where I had a couple tripod shots. I had one camera shooting a close-up, and then I was going handheld with a wide.
So you're mixing GH4 and 5?
No, actually, I had 2 GH5s.
Okay.
Sorry.
They matched. They matched so well. How did you do that? Yeah, I got nervous in some of those shots, man. You're kind of close to the chainsaw.
I tried to get as close as I could. I wanted the spray on this splash-proof, freeze-proof camera.
You ever vlog with 2 cameras at the same time?
Not by myself. Sometimes when I cover a camera show, we have 2 cameras.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you're safe there. All right, next question here. I think this kind of gets into, this is kind of like a roadmap type of thing. GH series now to me seems like a sort of like a platform, and this question may kind of get into that. The GH5 has almost every feature, at least in its price range / future update. What feature do you feel like the GH5 is missing? This is an interesting question.
Charging through USB cable.
Charging through the USB. You like that
USB,
for a vlogger? Why is that Why is that your jams?
It's just a backup. If you forgot to charge your battery or you forgot to bring one, that happens sometimes to me.
I've had to purchase an adapter before after I forgot to travel with one.
That too. So it would be great if you have a phone power bank with you. You can just charge it.
That's cool.
That would be cool. Yeah,
really cool.
Because I see the USB-C in there. It would be great if I can fast charge it.
Anything missing for you, Jackie? Anything you'd like to see?
Well, it would have been nice to have continuous focus in 120, higher frame rates. Wish list.
Yeah.
For you, Griffin, anything jumps out at you immediately that you'd love to see added?
Not immediately. I will say I like that Panasonic has actually listened to my suggestions. I had a little thing on the GH4 that bugged me where the screen would not go to sleep, but it would turn off some icons after a minute of shooting. You don't need these icons anymore. And the problem is if you tried to push record while the icons were off, that would just wake the camera back up, and then you'd have to push record again to actually record. So that caused me a couple missed shots here and there. But they took that off of the GH5. I brought that up to them, and they said, "Oh yeah, let's get rid of that." So I feel really happy about what this camera is right now.
Yeah. Well, something that excited me is when the announcement landed in January, firmware updates were immediately announced, and I don't think Panasonic's never done anything like that before.
Never before.
This is a new strategy, a new departure for you all.
Yeah, this is it's a big commitment that we're making with the camera. The GH series has always been future-proof. So yeah, from day one, laying out that you get in with this camera and you're supported. That's one of our goals.
And listener feedback, user feedback will be maybe taken into consideration as you're rolling out updates.
Yeah, we hear what people are asking, whether they're sending it in directly to us or if Griffin hears something or really, you put it somewhere, you call out attention to it to us, we hear it.
Yeah. Here's a secret: when you ask me a question, I just ask Sean that same question, and then I give you the answer. Or when you give me feedback, I give it to Sean.
Yeah, and it's great.
All right, so this is a good one here. On a personal note, which new feature on the GH5 were each of you the most excited about? For me, this is hands down the viewfinder. I'm a big believer in just having everything you need on camera, and this is a viewfinder that I can actually use, that I'd be comfortable using for stills and video, and that's, I gotta be honest, that's pretty rare for me. I'm very, very persnickety about how much information is in the finder, how much magnification is in the finder, and it's the thing that I'm the most excited about, the GH5.
For me, the 4K 60p is the thing that seems most exciting. And then when I picked it up, and the in-body image stabilization is something I didn't think I needed, but when I see the difference, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really happy I have that. Especially with lenses that don't have their own image stabilization. I was buying all lenses that have image stabilization just so that I could clean up my handheld, but now anything I throw on this body can do that.
Oh, yes.
Honestly, mine are just the same as yours.
I mean, they are good features.
Yeah. Sorry to copy you.
Actually, that's a lot. Oh,
This thing. You have it on right now.
yeah.
The XLR adapter. I forgot about this.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to use this yet, but it looks awesome.
Same. Yeah. This is huge for me because with these little like filmmaking mirrorless cameras, you have to have all of that like XLR to 1/8 inch like audio in adapter mess.
Yeah.
And it's so useful that this, does phantom power through the hot shoe.
Yep.
And I haven't seen that anywhere else. And now, you don't have to double buy all of these cables, and some people still have their little like 1/8 inch audio input like video mics, and I don't want to have to buy two different things. You know what I mean?
And when you told me you were making this, I thought, surely it won't have phantom power.
Yeah, right.
Why would it? But it does.
Yeah.
It did everything it needs.
Yeah, and the XLR adapters, it goes back again. It's that feedback from people like yourselves that came back and said, the YAGH was okay. That was kind of cool. It was big, expensive, and it needed its own power.
Yes.
It was made for a studio environment. But we kept getting asked, take out the audio inputs. We want high res audio. We want a better interface. We want something that is less expensive. And that's where the XLR came in, adapter. It records 96 kilohertz, 24-bit audio when you're shooting an MOV, and it's all packaged, powered, and run through the hot shoe. So
Previous to this, there are just countless people out in the world externally recording their audio and having to deal with syncing after the fact. So this is such a useful like run and gun
I will
dot
say
feature.
The only thing that would keep me from using this in some situations is I've gotten used to having redundant audio and liking that safety mechanism that if I'm recording on an external recorder and I'm getting, the mic on here is good enough to do, I use it as my Nat sound all the time. Yeah. Like I think in the Ice documentary, I was just recording Nat sound on this, occasionally getting it on a microphone.
Yeah.
But it does freak me out a little bit to have only one audio input. It's nice, it's convenient.
Welcome to the future.
Join us.
What if I screw it up?
No, but
but I can monitor it. And,
and even that, if you still are recording in a secondary feed, that you can still also record a very high resolution feed natively into the camera, so your backup also becomes a much better backup. Always record in the highest quality you can for your output. It's the best way to go at things.
All right, so here's a quick one for you, Sean. What is the native ISO of the GH5?
Well, I honestly don't have an answer for you.
All right, we stumped you. Anybody know?
I don't have an answer.
It's 400, right? That's what I've read.
When you shoot log, the lowest ISO you can go to is 400 ISO. Yep. When you're shooting in any of the other profiles, you can shoot down into the extended, I think, low 100 ISO as well. But I honestly, it's not something that I've actually been given an actual number to. If you put the camera in gain, you'll be able to work at 0 dB and then make your own inferences off of that. But,
I forget, could you do 100 ISO on the GH4?
Nope.
What was the bottom there?
Lowest on that was 200, I believe.
Yeah.
When you same thing when you weren't shooting in log. When you shoot in log, the lowest ISO you can shoot is 400.
No one told me that on the GH5, and when I was shooting with like this lens that's an f1.4, I would occasionally need a really low ISO, and all of a sudden one day I think I turned on my extended ISO and I dropped it down. I was like, whoa! It can do
and there's advantages with that. You know, when you start to use extended lower ISOs, you can actually play off because you can cut your dynamic range a little bit. And in post, at least with some of the ASCs that I've discussed with, you know, there are uses for that as well, for protecting your highlights in situations where you either can't stop down enough or you don't have an ND filter with you and you just really need to bury it. So.
Right. Locke, we got a good vlog question for you here.
Okay.
Okay, so is the GH5 a good camera for vloggers that would be for self-filming on the go but are looking for high quality?
Definitely. For me, for a vlog video, for a vlog camcorder, I look at it as a camcorder all the time. Well, the AF continuous AFC works really well. IS works really well. That's good for I'm holding it and walking as well.
And while you've been here, you've been doing that.
Yeah,
the whole time.
All the time. And then obviously the flip screen. That
is great.
I'm so used to camera without a flip screen. Actually, when I get this and then I'm shooting with Doug and Jake, they have to remind me I have a flip screen. Oh yes, oh yes, I got a flip screen. So useful.
Well, sometimes when I make tutorial videos and the camera is just out of reach that I can't do a focus on myself. I'll just pop open the Wi-Fi app. You turn on Wi-Fi on the camera, focus on your app, and then hit record. You're good.
Oh, I haven't tried that. I should try that as well.
Super cool. All right, so a question about rolling shutter. I think this is a great question for any large sensor video camera. Pose this to everybody on the panel. Jacki, how's the rolling shutter? I want to shoot dance, action, etc. Is this the camera for me?
Oh, man. Well, I don't think that's the question for me. Sorry, y'all.
I did a side-by-side test, and it looked to me like it was half as much as the GH4. So it still has rolling shutter. Of course it does.
Of course it does.
The way that the sensor reads out.
Yeah.
But it's less there if you don't like rolling shutter. I personally don't care about it, rolling shutter. It's just an artifact of shooting video.
Yeah.
It's like when you shoot video of a propeller and it looks all funny. I think some things look weird on video, but this looks less weird than before.
I did try shooting in the subway when the subway train passed really quickly, really close. I haven't do side-by-side comparison, but it looks good. It doesn't look distracting. Yeah. It's not like 45 degrees something like that. Kind of just a little bit. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm shooting 4K all the time as well. Yeah.
All right. This is a question that I'm not sure how to answer. What is the craziest thing about the GH5? Jacki, what is the craziest thing about the GH5?
Well, I think it's pretty crazy what you were saying about syncing it with an app.
Yeah.
And being able to change focus that way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think it's crazy how many more features are in the menu. The menus are bigger.
Yes.
But they've made it a little bit easier to navigate. They've added an extra menu. But compared to the GH4, every time I go back to the GH4, I'm like, oh, there's a lot fewer things in here. There's a lot of stuff in the GH5.
Just a few.
Yeah.
The craziest thing for me was seeing on the front of the camera, we still have PC sync. Right? I was like, that's a good crazy thing. I love having that there. But I was really surprised that it was there.
Wait, we haven't mentioned full-size HDMI. That's pretty cool.
That's and the USB, the USB port is the new USB-C
on there.
Oh my gosh. I wish that I had tried this out because such a big pain in my life is having to do those little mini USB conversions.
Yes.
This is, oh my gosh.
All right, Locke, craziest thing about the GH5 for you?
No, a lot of things. It could be, it's just for personal because I try to use Cinelike D on the GH4. It doesn't, the skin tone is a bit weird. So now finally I can just use that. Maybe not the craziest things for most people, but I appreciate that. Oh, I can finally use that.
Mm-hmm. Are you color grading after, or do you like the look of Cinelike D right out of the camera?
It's almost kind of like 80% usable already. But I still I still geek about that. Oh, can I adjust that a little bit?
a
Oh, it
little
looks
extra.
good.
Yeah.
I still geek about that.
All right, so a question to all of our panelists. Will the GH5 be the camera that you continue to shoot on? And Locke, maybe you can start us off with that. So the camera that you'll shoot on for vlogging, you see yourself using it?
Yeah, definitely it can. Yeah, definitely a pretty good camera for vlogging.
For Doc?
I still have my GH3.
GH4, you're married
I have
to
the
the
GH3
system.
still too. Oh wow! I think, I mean, every time I get like a new, like I'll keep using the GH4. Maybe it's time for me to retire the GH3. I still think the GH3 is a solid camera. I thought that was like the best camera ever when it came out, and then they added 4K, and now this one's a new body with all sorts of new things. But I mean, I'm sure I'll use this for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah,
maybe longer.
I'm super excited to try some moving image work with it. I didn't get to do that. I shot primarily stills with it. I liked what I had there, but just being with you all today, I got to get some moving image, some visual storytelling on. I'm getting excited. Jackie, is it going to stay in the bag for you?
Well, this was a new experience for me, and it changed my mind about mirrorless cameras.
Yeah. I like hearing it. I really like hearing that.
It did, because in most of my work life, I'm either shooting on the C300 Mark II or the FS7, and Canon and Sony, or the Sony A7S, and this was like a comfortable in-between, feature-wise and form factor-wise, in between that A7S and like the larger prosumer like cine cameras.
I think it takes a lot of boxes. Obviously, it's not the perfect camera. There's no perfect camera in the world.
Yeah. Right.
But it takes a lot of boxes. Of course, you can't. It's kind of unfair to compare this to a larger sensor camera. But what you get is like 12 to 60 millimeters this size. I mean, equivalent to 24 to 120. You can't get this kind of small lenses on larger sensor camera.
Very inconspicuous,
Yeah.
depending on the type of work you're doing.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jack, here's one that came in from the Twitter sphere for you. What program did you use to color grade your music video?
I just used Lumetri in Premiere. Yep.
And, just real quick, I'd love to hear from everybody on the panel on this. What's your preferred video editing platform, and what's your? Oh, yeah, I like hearing this. Let's be controversial. All right, so Jackie, you're over. You use Premiere
Yes.
exclusively, or?
Yeah, I
Mostly.
grew up with Final Cut 7, and I didn't go over to Final Cut 10. I'm one of those people. So yeah. But every company and setting that I've worked at has always been Premiere.
I'm one of the people that did go to Final Cut 10.
Whoa.
Team Final Cut 10.
I am also a Final Cut 10 user. I have never been on a panel before.
I didn't
where
realize I
everybody
was alone
so many
here.
people are using Final Cut 10. So Final Cut 10.
Yeah.
You do your color grading there also?
Yeah. I use the color corrector built in.
I do use a plugin. I use the plugin.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's see what we have going here. It's that magical time of our show where we have the winners that have been tweeting at us. Thank you all so much for your amazing questions. If we didn't answer those on panel here today, our social media team will be answering you. So just remain patient. I know there's so much information like coming in. We'll be pushing answers out. We promise you. All right. So first, let's call up the winner for the Panasonic Lumix GX5. We got Carlos Moreno. Carlos, congratulations. You are the big winner of the GX85.
I actually want that camera.
It's a cool little camera, right, man?
Every time I see it at trade shows, I'm like, this is a nice size.
Yeah.
We're here at the B&H Superstore today, Griffin, so maybe afterwards you and I will go up to the counter.
Like if you put a lens that small on it.
Oh, it's so cool. All right, here we go. Second winner. Silent drum roll, please. This is for the Panasonic Lumix G85. Okay, Jonas Navicus. Jonas, you are the big winner.
And the lens.
And the lens? What do we get with this?
Nice.
The 12 to 60.
12 to 60.
So that's not the Leica 12 to 60.
It's not the Leica 12 to 60.
That's the
Okay.
12 to 60, the original 12 to 60 we came out with a few months ago.
Sharp.
Super
Nice.
awesome lens for that kit.
Nice piece of glass. All right. You all ready for the big winner?
Great.
You all ready for this?
Did you all enter into this? 'Cause I feel
We were
sad
told
that
we weren't allowed to.
I told my friends to enter and then share the camera.
Well, this one's
Hopefully-
mine, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right, y'all ready? Here we go. Grand prize winner, Panasonic Lumix GH5 body goes to Elijah Austin. Elijah, congratulations.
Awesome.
You are the new owner of
Hate-
Panasonic
hate
Lumix.
you. Sorry, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Congratulations.
Elijah won't care that you hate.
He just got a brand new camera.
Yeah.
Good luck,
Oh my
Elijah.
goodness. All right, that's so fantastic. All right, we just want to give a big thank you to all of our partners who have been streaming with us today. Thank you to our incredible panelists. We have Jacki Huntington right here, Griffin Hammond,
Thank you.
Locke Cheung.
You're welcome.
Sean, thanks for coming in from Panasonic.
course.
All right, I'm
Thanks
photographer.
for having me as well. Yeah.
Awesome, y'all. All right, thank you so much. I'm photographer David Flores. Thanks for hanging out with us here at the B&H Superstore. We'll see you next time.